better for working families, for people across the country, around the world. My passion for fighting for justice in all ways, whether it's making sure that we have clean air and clean water, and making sure people have access to health care, to education, to all the wide range of healthcare needs that women have. It's sort of a strange thing when people, I talk about other things when I'm not here. I talk about books and movies, and I talk about some of those things when I'm here too. But it's always weird when someone I've known for a very long time tells me they were listening to the show, and my husband too. Like, he'll have friends say, "Hey, I heard Patty talking about Declan," and I know I haven't given an update on Declan lately. For those of you who maybe didn't hear a few weeks ago, or in general have not heard me talk about my son Declan, who was born medically fragile, in the sense that they did not think he was going to survive when he was born. He was on life support and then on oxygen for 28 days in what they call the special care nursery, that most of you know as the NICU, intensive care unit for babies. And he's 19 years old now, but they told us when he was born, his neurologist said, "I don't know if he'll ever walk or talk or surpass the intellectual ability of a 2-year-old," based on what he had seen in those first 2 weeks. And a lot of what he kind of laid out in front of us, it was difficult to absorb. And Declan is always working so hard to rise and do the things and reach for the things that are most important to him. He loves music. He loves to play in the water. He loves some of his favorite shows. And we found out just a few weeks ago that he has one of the rarest genetic disorders on the planet. He has something called primrose, and we are sort of dealing with this new information. It doesn't change much in the sense that it doesn't really, it sort of accounts for everything that has happened. He is only the 53rd person on the planet to have this diagnosis. We assume that many people go undiagnosed because it really wasn't widely tested for up until about 10 years ago. The first patient to be diagnosed with it was in 1982. And so they're still learning more about what this condition will mean for Declan in the future. And he is working every day to try to walk again. He used to be able to walk for miles and miles. And then about 3 years ago, woke up one day limping and locked up. And we go for bike rides as often as we can. We have this adaptive bike. And if you're on the Northwest side, you might see us walking around the neighborhood. And we go about 2 to 3 miles as weather permits. And today we had a beautiful walk. A little chilly here in Chicago, but man, I really do need those walks to clear my head a little bit with everything that is going on in the news. I don't know if you guys watched or could tolerate anything that Trump said in this commencement speech in Alabama, just all this rantings of a lunatic and an idiot. I don't understand. I will never understand the attraction that he has for the people who are all in on just the buffoonery is coming out of this. It's just insane. Let me get to Jim in Chicago. Hey, Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
First of all, it started this way, Patty. The reality is Republicans hate Democrats, and it's vehement. You can feel it in the air. They don't care who. The devil himself could be president, and they'd be all for it as long as he's a Republican. As long as he's Republican.
No, I don't get that. I don't even think they realize why they're Republicans. They don't. I mean,
I don't. But they just care about thinking that they won, and that's all they care about. They don't care if it's the devil himself.
Hey, Jim,
because they've got.
You know how their basic thing is that they want to own the libs, and someone put out yesterday. At this point, they'll only be able to rent the libs, and I kind of love that.
Yeah, the way it's going. A couple of things. First of all, what we know that these billionaires are making easy money with Trump. They announced the Bitcoin. It's manipulating the stock market. They're just making easy money that we'll never even find out about because it'd be so buried in offshore accounts that we'll never even know about it. And the other thing is, Marco Rubio's running around the world and saying all these ridiculous things. Why isn't he talking about the people starving to death in Gaza? We won't even let food into Gaza. At least when Biden was president, we had the first ceasefire. I mean, they didn't even consider a second ceasefire, and we definitely have leverage over Israel. And why are they going to let these kids we're talking on the phone. These kids are starving to death. They don't have a thing to eat.
Yeah.
And all these ships are off the waterways there, and they won't let them in because they're going to use starvation as a weapon of war.
Absolutely.
I mean, and these are supposed to be. Don't they have a religion? Doesn't Israel? Then they believe they had some religion. They used to be the Jewish people had a religion. I don't know what happened to it. But anyway,
I think that's what the rest of the world thinks about Americans. And, aren't they supposed to be better than this? And we are reflected by who our leader is. And with Benjamin Netanyahu leading Israel, it's easy to assume that that people are all in on that. But the individuals themselves, many of whom stand in contrast to Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, Patty, but still, you're starving.
I know.
I mean, 60% of the people killed her are women and children. Now little children are going to starve to death. There's nobody on earth that could believe it. I don't care what you believe. If you're an atheist with some kind of a virtuous bent, you don't want to see people starve to death for no reason. There's plenty of food there.
The cruelty's the point. That's what a lot of these people operate on. Hey, by the way, guess who's in studio? What?
Welcome. Hi. How's everybody doing? Good to be here.
Thanks, Jim. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you. Yeah, Jim's upset about well, here's the thing. All over the world, people are doing cruel things, whether it's, waging war, trying to starve people, cutting off services. It's just nonstop, Hal. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, actually. I don't have any services that can be cut off. So that's the thing about being completely self-sufficient and never in one place for very long.
Do you have a garden? Do you have crops? What do you got? Do you have a victory garden?
No, I have a bunker full of beans. They're all freeze-dried. Yeah.
I have mine left over from Y2K, so I'm good.
It's still, that stuff doesn't go bad, does it? It's like gunpowder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can't really fail. My goal is I'll just stack the coal, and eventually, if it becomes a diamond, I'll luck out at the end of it.
There you go. Under the pressure.
I would also say that I think that Trump and his ilk, and I don't give him enough credit to be the progenitor of a lot of this stuff. I actually think that Putin and to some degree MBS and others have started a cascade in the world where the Trumps of the world are following in behind him. Because we're America, we tend to think in terms of we set the tone. And in reality, if you look at what MAGA was chasing and what they ultimately got out of Donald Trump was sort of this Timu Antichrist, 8-bit version of Putin that, wants to be like him, wants to emulate these kind of things, but has no idea how any of it works. And I would argue, thank God, because
that's exactly right. The ineptitude is going to be what saves us.
The one upside is that they not only do they not have a plan, but if they had the best plan in the world, they would screw it up. Look at Hegseth, look at Mike Waltz. Everybody but Marco Rubio in there, and it feels like increasingly, if you're looking at the stories, Rubio is operating like a shadow government subterfuge, going, "I love you, boss. You're the greatest thing in the world," and absolutely doing the opposite because the Ukraine mineral deal basically just let them have that, set it up so that we are now financially responsible for them in a way that we weren't under Biden. It is to some degree, if Biden had floated this deal, he never would have gotten it. The Republicans would have run interference, kind of like the Lake and Riley Act. The Lake and Riley Act is effectively the Republican, the bipartisan border bill, minus the $250 billion worth of funding that they wanted, and that's why they're adding it to this other thing. But even Republicans wouldn't vote for it until they attached Lake and Riley's name to it. They didn't put that on to attract Democratic votes. They already had them. They had to get their own people on board. That's why they needed her name on there. Yeah. And that tells you something about how scattered and confused and poorly educated they all are.
Hal is in town, by the way.
Yeah.
Is it really just for our 20th anniversary?
Yes.
Did you come in for us?
Well, that and I love Chicago, and I will take any excuse to come home to Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome home. Where'd you grow up again?
I went to New Trier. Okay. So I grew up in Kentucky, but then my dad moved up. He worked in Bannockburn for an architectural firm, and he rented a guest house in New Trier's district so
to
that
go to the best school.
So that I could leave Kentucky where we had flint and steel class and go to a school and lose my accent and become a productive member of society.
Yeah, you do sound Midwestern.
Oh, I sound like I have that Midwestern radio accent. They send. I don't know if a lot of people out there know that, but when Network is teeing up regional anchors from they like this person, they're from Texas or something like that. If they want to get them ready for the big time, they run them through Chicago for a couple of years, make them sit in there and lose their accent and get this, non-inflected Midwestern hello.
Hello. Should I just go to Stephanie right now or take a break and then go to Stephanie? What do you want me to do? Go right to Stephanie. Stephanie's on the line.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Stephanie Miller is on with us. I didn't realize.
Fantastic.
Hi, Stephanie. I wanted to hug you so badly all day today, sending you all kinds of love.
Long-time caller, first-time listener. Thanks for joining us.
I need some sex with Hal Sparks immediately right now.
Well, that's what the sound of my voice qualifies as, according to the Geneva Convention. Mm-hmm. Just me talking over a microphone qualifies as sex.
With an accent apparently learned at New Trier.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cobbled together, I would say. Yeah.
Patti and Hal, I have to say, I'm having a tough day. My friend Jill Sobule died yesterday,
right.
and I really had a really hard time getting through my show. Mm-hmm. Hal has been there for countless Sexy Liberals that Jill has done with us. She's been in studio with us countless times. She's done house parties at my house. She died in a house fire yesterday, and we don't know all the details yet. But I am. I'm really struggling. Like honestly, you guys called. I totally forgot about this. I'm here with my friend Karen, who's just here to hug me today because I am just heartbroken. Hal, you know what a magical person Jill Sobule was.
Absolutely.
Like she's saying America back with us. Mm-hmm. At DC Sexy Liberal, at LA Sexy Liberal, and it is just, we have all political stress and economic and every kind of stress, and now a lot of us have just life stress.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just stuff that happens on top of it, right, Patti?
Oh yeah, no. I started the show talking about this. Is it like in addition to being so vulnerable emotionally, for this to happen, the injustice of it, the cruelty of it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. If
Patti, I gotta tell you, every time I stop crying, someone sends me a text or an email, and one of them was a concert photographer from Chicago who just texted me pictures, just sent me pictures of Jill from 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. That were, magical, just, as Jill was. And I have to, hang on one second. Sorry, guys. I got to read this. Every time I stop crying, I get Malcolm Nance. Hang on one second. Malcolm Nance, who you guys all know from my show. Mm-hmm. Malcolm said, I just heard about Jill on your show. I'm stunned. When I returned from Ukraine, I didn't feel safe or like I had returned home at all until Jill sang for me at your backyard party. I will always love her music for rebalancing my soul. After a horrible year, we will always love Jill.
Yeah. So sorry, Steph.
Oh, my God. What do you do, Hal? Like, how do you... you and I did how many Sexy Liberals with Jill? And, she was...
During the, during the lockdown, I had been going to China for, almost 2 years, and I was there when COVID was breaking out. And when I came home, I started seeing phone numbers disappear of people I knew in China who I now know are dead and have been, since before we all went through it. And at a certain point, I just broke down and sobbed my guts out. And then when that ended, and it does naturally, you know what it's like when you just kind of come to the edge of it. You find yourself is what now, and that becomes how do we contribute. She has a legacy and a caring for humanity that extended through everything, and we could only hope that it inspires other people to live up to their best selves. That she becomes that example. That's the only place you can hold on to that. And then don't rush to not feel bad about it. Nobody says you ever have to, like, the depth of your love for her and her love for you and the example she set, that doesn't need to go anywhere for any amount of time. Nobody's rushing you through this. And as somebody who's broken down on the air on my show several times, I have no problem with you doing that because it is earned and worthwhile, and that's what we fight for all the issues we care about, the people that are hurt and harmed or gone or not with us or that inspired us. So you don't have to go anywhere through it.
Yeah.
She died yesterday.
Yeah.
She died yesterday. And she just did my show and a house party at my house a month ago.
Yeah.
And, like, honestly, I'm not saying this to suck up to you guys. But what you both do is so important in the world right now. It's like, let Jill inspire you. I mean, Hal, you're the same way. You're just kind of love and light and happiness and humor, and you do not let them take your joy.
No.
And that's the lesson of Jill, is you always make it funny, Hal. And Patty, you keep fighting this good fight every day, and that's what Jill did. She just did it. Everybody that ever saw her in my house or anywhere was like, she's so magical. She's like some magical creature. And she really was. She just was made of love and light and joy, and she did not let them take her joy. So don't let them take your joy. This is how Hal fights every day, with humor, because that's our power, right? Hal, it's
absolutely
power.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't hurt that our current enemy in Trump has no sense of humor and is easily mocked, and while he has no shame, can be embarrassed incredibly easily. And I would like to say for the record that if I was there with you right now, I would be hugging you to an inappropriate level. To quote Groucho Marx,
I'd be doing a reach around.
Yeah,
like
if I hugged you any harder, I'd be behind you.
Physics of that.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean it though. Like you do too. I've always said that there is this, the deep hardcore political activist, slacktivist class and people on the air that, the Tom Hartmans of the world that, are very academic in what they do. And there's a delivery system that gets people to where they can understand that and absorb the worth and the value of it. And that's you, Steph. That's what you bring to that situation. You're the transition point for people who may not be used to this way of thinking, or that they've had their empathy weaponized against them over time, or have shut it down entirely. And you could lighten it up and bring them through. And that is an invaluable thing in the world.
Pal. Let's just be honest. They need fart jokes.
Well, yeah.
Every day.
I have a Russian mole that I hired off of Craigslist that's trying to get a mic in Trump's chair, and I feel like that in and of itself should do it. You know what I mean?
Please.
Yeah. It'll sound like he's giving himself rim shots every time he says a sentence.
I mean, honestly, Hal and Patty, Jill just tells us we got to double and effing triple down right now.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, you have to be her light in the world. Like, we all have to take the baton now from someone that can't take it. Like, it's so tragic to not lose someone from illness. Like, this was a tragic, horrible accident that is just, and she was healthy, and Hal, as a musician, you are, he had just said in an interview, I think my best work is ahead of me. She was just like you, did a 17 tour together. She was just launching her tour. She was starting in, she was going to be in Denver tonight, her hometown. She, it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
6, please, everybody support her music. It's coming out June 6th, her F to 7th grade, the show album, and the 30th anniversary of Jill Sobule, the album. Just go immerse yourself in how brilliant she was, and beautiful, and just kind. I mean, you can't say enough, can you, Hal? I mean,
No.
You can't say enough.
No, I have, some people know my bass player in my band, Robert Hall, who I love very much. He was the guy who got me to get off my butt and start performing my own music, to sing and play at the same time when I couldn't do it. He literally convinced me in a weekend that I could. He was that kind of friend. Yeah. He died just after COVID, during the window where I lost 7 people in a row over a course of a few months or whatever. And I have a picture of him at the top of the stairs of he and I playing together that I have. And every time, I got to be completely honest, I swear when I walk by it a good portion of the time, because he was just ripped away so quickly, and that feeling never goes away. But I would rather have that picture there for the joy and the value he gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
Patty,
you understand
I feel
that.
like at this point you're watching Hal and I in a three-way, but he and I are just having sex. But I do have
But
to take a moment to
weepy sex, which is really weird. It's like we're watching some sort of 70s rom-com, you know. Alice doesn't live here anymore.
Hal,
yeah.
Hal, listen to me. You carry the spirit of Jill Sobule more than anybody. Do you understand me? Are you listening?
Oh.
I know.
You like are a troubadour. You're a musician. You're a poet. You're a songwriter. You're a comic. You take back this power, you know, that we need right now more desperately than anything. And the spirit of Jill, that you have the soul of an artist. You have the heart of a musician. You have the soul of a comedian. And, you know, it's on all of us now. But, honey, sorry, more on you.
No pressure.
All right?
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I think you know this. Again, there's no space where any of these words can have any anchor right now because of just where this is. This just happened, and it has to take its own path through your soul and through your experience and the like. But as soon as people can start pulling something from it, the value, what they will pull is her spirit and her drive to make this world a better place. And that is something we always need more of.
And I'll tell you, a listener just messaged in saying, you know, wow, this is so great talking about this because we have so many people on our side, with, as you mentioned, Stephanie, with artistry, music, comedy, and our passion. All they have on their side is anger and grievance, is what someone just pointed out, too, which
look at, you know, we play like Kimmel and Colbert and everybody every day on our show. Comedians are leading the resistance, whether it's Hal Sparks or John Fugelsang or Frangela or any of these amazing voices. This is what they want. They want us to have despair and to give up.
Right.
Comedy is what takes our power back. And you guys do that every day. And Patty, you do it every day in Chicago. You know, where like we have to keep, like, I keep saying I love what J.B. Pritzker's doing.
Yep.
Right? Oh, my God.
And by the way, he shows a path forward. We had a governor before him who absolutely decimated our social services, cut services for the elderly, for people with disability, childcare, basically everything that they're trying to do across the country. And he's showing the path back. We have, we've clawed back everything. We're trying to support people in the best way possible. We are one of the places people come from all over the country for reproductive health. People are moving here for trans care. So we're proud of that. And so whatever happens next.
And that's where it's going to happen too. It takes 1,000 acts of goodness to beat back one giant evil at every turn in this administration, and it's going to happen in the states. It's going to happen in your state legislatures. It's going to be and these elections that are coming up aren't just about Congress. They're going to be about judges. They're going to be about comptrollers and people who are doing the budget, because they're going to advise people on how much money can be spent and where and why. And those matter more than ever. People are going to...
By the way, Patty, Hal and I are not just saying that because J.B. Pritzker did Chicago Sexy Liberal with us, which is now available at sexyliberal.com. We're not saying that.
Always be closing.
We're saying it because he's fighting, and that's what Democrats want right now.
And we all are. And by the way, the reason we're talking today is because you are such a huge part of our family here at WCPT as we celebrate 20 years. You are the cornerstone of starting, the whole, I think, this entire movement of making sure that people have a place to share their thoughts, their fears, their passion. So thank you so much for everything you've brought to our audiences.
Hal, cornerstone, she means really old, right? She means you're really old. Is that what she means?
The
foundational. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's not the oldest. We fall apart without you, is what I'm saying.
That's very sweet, but yes, it is the oldest stone in the building. That's and there's no question about that. I mean, I appreciate what you're trying. She's got a whole shovel here she's trying to dig out with, but.
Hal Sparks and John Fugelsang and I sold out the Chicago Theater in, I don't know what year it was, but when we started Sexy Liberal, and we have so many amazing memories of Chicago that are just, I mean, it's not just where, Hal's from and, Francis is from Frangela's from, and Frangela met at Second City. It's just this where my show was on WCKG. Like, I've lived in Chicago. It feels like our hometown, just
Absolutely.
like it does for Hal. And so I honestly, Hal, I feel like that was my favorite show, the DNC show with our whole cast there. Like, it just
what an amazing, like, just the backstage alone. And then and Jamie Harrison borrows my lightsaber, and he does a picture with Mark Hamill with my lightsaber, and then he doesn't give it back until later. And I didn't get a picture with Mark Hamill and my lightsaber, and still haven't.
Oh, we need to fix
fine.
that.
Oh, my God, you're way too handsome to be this much of a nerd, but that's what I love about you.
We're going to fix that. Stephanie, I send you so much
right.
love, and thank you so much for everything you do. And I every single day.
You too, Patty. You too. You too. I
love
so
you.
appreciate you.
Yep, and big fondle, Steph. I will see you soon.
Yeah. Me too.
I would grope her. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's a good time. It's a good
I
time.
think so too. Thanks, Stephanie. Love you. Oh man, so heartbreaking. Let's take a break here. We're in studio with Hal Sparks. We'll be right back after this on WCPT 820 and KKNW 1150 Seattle, Washington.
This is your WCPT Progressive Calendar. Wednesday, May 14th at 11:30 a.m., the Lincoln Forum and the Union League Club of Chicago present a candid discussion with former and current Chicago alderpersons on how Chicago's government really works, inside City Hall, understanding Chicago's aldermanic system. Retired alders Michelle Smith and Leslie Hairston and current alderman Raymond Lopez are among the panelists. Mike Flannery moderates. The event takes place at the Union League Club of Chicago, 65 West Jackson Boulevard in Chicago. Get your tickets on Eventbrite. Thursday, May 22nd at 12:30 p.m., the Buffett Institute and the Center for Communication and Public Policy at Northwestern University's School of Communication present America's Soft Power and Reputational Security in Crisis, a lunchtime conversation with USC Professor Nicholas J. Cull. The event is free and takes place at 720 University Place in Evanston.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820. You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Patchy showers tonight with cloudy skies and a low temperature of 44 degrees and light northeast winds. Saturday showers with a high temperature around 49 degrees and winds out of the northeast at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Sunday showers with a high temperature around 52. On Monday we'll see a chance of showers with a high of 56. And for Tuesday, lots of sun with a high of 60. Wednesday, showers with a high of 58. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 54.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Can we fix our democracy? Absolutely, we have to. We have no choice. Has it been a democracy that's had major flaws and holes in it like Swiss cheese? Absolutely. And do our systems fail us? Yes, they do. It starts with this, guys. Trust me when I say this. It starts with acknowledging that we have these issues and we have these problems.
Richard Chew, weekday mornings at 6 on WCPT 820.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patty Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
833-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
He's driving it home.
We all have a lot to
Patti
say.
Vasquez.
We all have a lot to say, and I'm so glad that we have Hal Sparks in
That's
studio
right.
to join us. Hal Sparks is joining us for our 20th anniversary at Max and Benny's. Well, you'll be broadcasting live tomorrow morning. Have you
Very
been to Max and
exciting.
Benny's?
Yes, but not in this capacity.
It's
so
exciting.
it's good, huh?
Yes, it's exciting.
Yes, it is very exciting.
Very exciting.
I got to say, like, I've only done a couple of over the years of that, it's lovely to be able to say years of doing my show on the weekends. Here that I've had a couple of these things, and I'm the kind of person I would do the show that way always. Like
Live,
if I still lived in Chicago, we'd be doing this at an improv Olympic or Second City style theater every Saturday morning, and just have people come down and eat brunch or something, and we'd argue over pancakes, because I do think the community aspect of it is one of the greatest things. My show actually started as a live stream. I used to stream on a site called Ustream well before YouTube existed and all that kind of stuff. There was this streaming site that you could stream to people, and I was like, this is a great way to do fan outreach. I'm a nerd. I'll figure this out. And then I got poached by Livestream, which is this other company that was competing, and then all these stations opened, then YouTube and all this stuff opened. And then as soon as that opened up, I was like, well, I could do this live in front of a studio audience. What's the difference? We're this close to like 5 pieces of gear. Every radio show is a TV show. Mm-hmm. The irony that everybody thought it was going to go the other direction, that ultimately, there would be that it would be eclipsed. But actually, listening is a very important experience that I think is overlooked a lot of times.
Sure.
And it's, most people do it in the form of podcasts or audiobooks and those kind of things. But like passively engaging with content and listening to it and absorbing it that way is at the very root of humanity. Hearing each other and hearing each other in a community of people who are the like-minded but can argue within the margins, which I think is incredibly valuable. And I think in the face of a threat like Trump, sometimes people get afraid to argue in the margins. And we shouldn't, we should be able to discuss tactics all over the place or whatever. That said, there is not a single Democrat, find your worst, that even charts with the threat that we're engaging on the Republican side. So anybody who brings it up to me like, yeah, but what about the Gretchen Whitmer and Schumer should have, like the second they start talking about that, I'm like, simmer down. The threat that we're up against is so ginormous that, the Democrats better not vote for this. Like, A, they're not going to. B, they didn't. C, they were never going to. And while you were talking about that, the Republicans kept trying to slip things through and slide stuff by you. So don't take your eye off the ball. Yeah, or the puck. At this point, it's hockey. It's moving so fast and so chaotically. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just banging all over the place. I agree, and we do a monthly broadcast. We try to broadcast with an audience as often as we can. So every month we're in Madison actually broadcasting.
Beautiful.
And they have, and we spent a lot of time door knocking in Wisconsin. I worked with. We created a group called Fibs for Wisconsin. You do know what Fibs is, right?
Fibs?
They call us effing Illinois bastards in Wisconsin.
Yes.
So I created a group very supportive of all, whether it was Judge Susan Crawford or the races last year.
Nice.
And so we've been working a lot with them. And you're right. I mean, people want to have that sense of community and also know that they have a space where they can plan, they can strategize, they can work out these arguments and debates. Yeah.
Well, and I've always, when I first started doing stand-up here, I would like to shout out WBEZ, but I won the funniest teenager in Chicago contest when I was 17 from WBEZ and the Sun-Times, and they put it on. And just having that outlet as a possibility gave me a career in a lot of ways, that they were doing things like that they were reaching out to the community and starting these contests and engaging kids and blah, blah, blah. But
I know. I used to call into their kids show every Saturday.
There you go. Yeah. So that was, it had, and I still think that we will be getting back to that as a society when the orange cloud passes, because I think that's one of the other things that's really happening here in Trump world, why it's so chaotic and why it's such a bum rush, that I've said for a long time that Trump is not long for this world. I'm not willing this into existence. I'm not wishing it on anybody. I have no interest in, I would rather he live longer than any other cellmate in D Block. Sure. Serve out your time fully. Like, I'm never going to have to serve 30 years. Give me 30 years. I don't care. 31 years later, he's like, what do you mean I don't make parole? How long do I have to stay in this dump? So I really do think we know he's not well mentally, but also that the whole colonoscopy thing that they're hiding, his massive weight loss, the idea that he might be on Ozempic, but it also could be something else. And it would certainly explain why everybody around him is acting like a bunch of like Knives Out, episode 3, like a bunch of kids sitting around waiting for Grandpa to kick off and all trying to kiss his butt.
I was gonna say that cabinet meeting with all the hats in front of them, and I don't think people heard the part. Was it Pam Bondi who said, "Since your ascension"?
Yes.
Oh my God,
president, and she calls him president because he told her once in front of a bunch of other people that when in South America they call you El Presidente.
Right.
They don't call you President Trump or President whatever. They call they call you President. And El Presidente, which means president. And so she just started he likes it to be called president. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to call him president instead of President Trump or Mr. President. He's like, Mr. President, Mr. That's not my last name or first name, Mr. President. I'm Trump. You call me President, El Presidente, Donald. But anyway, so she does that. It's the weirdest thing. But you look around the room of these people, and they're either fighting for their jobs, trying to avoid his gaze, or just I don't know, throwing themselves on the ground in front of him like he's like a 15-year-old emperor who might snap. He's got a lot more in common with that kid in that Twilight Zone episode who can make anything happen and makes everybody's mouth disappear if he doesn't like what they say than he does with a president at this point. And they even talk about, I forget, it was J.D. Vance or whatever, we only have a limited time to do these things. And the illusion was they're talking about the midterms. I don't think so. Mm-mm. I really don't. I think they're very concerned this is not going to work out well. And they don't have a lot of time with this dude in this shape. And everything they said about Biden is true about Trump.
Well, and you and I were kind of touched on that before we got on the phone with Stephanie, which is that it's their ineptitude that is going to be what saves us.
Absolutely. Right? If they had two brain cells to rub together, it'd be over by now. That's that was a great thing about Jan 6. People are like, Jan 6 was not an insurrection. I'm like, I agree. It was a failed insurrection. Mm-hmm. It was an attempted insurrection, but it was unsuccessful because you're all idiots. And thank God you're this dumb. If anybody running that thing had any smarts at all, or in the case of Steve Bannon, who is dangerously smart, had actually wanted that to be the end game, if he'd wanted them to upend democracy and destroy federalism, it would have been done. But none of them are capable, thank God. And the same thing is true of this tariff nonsense. And they just backed out of the Ukraine-Russia dialogue because the deal's been struck for the financial aspect of it. They're just not interested anymore because they know Russia's not going to say anything. And all that's going to happen if they stay in these negotiations longer, all that's going to happen is Russia is going to continue to flick Trump in the forehead and go, nothing you say means anything. And so he just left. And that's probably better for Ukraine because his micromanaging of it, his overfixation, or J.D. Vance's overfixation on it, we're still got funds going to them thanks to Schumer and the CR. Way to go, Schumer. I'm just saying, people don't know. People don't know that if they hadn't passed that CR, do you think during the government shutdown?
Well, that's the thing that he tried, but they didn't. I think what people had an issue with was they wanted to be explained that they wanted to be walked through what the. But
you can't because it's a ploy.
Exactly.
If he explains it, they won't get away with it.
Right.
They would let the government shut down.
They could, and the thing is, they could take over and do whatever they wanted.
Right.
And that's what
if they allow the government shut down while Trump is president, he will. I do that to everybody. It's all right.
Just spilled water all over myself.
That's all right. It happens.
Yeah,
just cool yourself off. Whatever. But if the government is allowed to shut down, and Democrats know this, during the time Trump is president, through a technical loophole, they will go, none of these programs are currently funded by the government. Therefore, I can get rid of them.
Yep.
He could redline USAID and the Department of Education and all these departments, the DEA. He could get rid of the FBI because technically it's not funded going forward. So, and if they wanted to, as soon as they brought the government back up, they would have to immediately pass a bill funding it. Well, he knows that the Republicans that he has in there will block it and keep it from happening. They could destroy the FBI in one fell swoop because all they got to do is not do anything. Exactly. They have to pull a Rand Paul. And they would do this with everything that's valuable. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all these programs could be undermined and go, as soon as this is the end of it, I'm redlining them. They all run out of money unless you rebuild them from scratch in the next round. So we'd have 3 years of Medicaid and Medicare. But at that point, they would legally not exist as entities anymore, and the Congress would have to rebuild them from scratch. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on. Hal Sparks, for instance, in studio. He'll be joining us. Of course, he'll be broadcasting live from Max and Benny's tomorrow. Doors open at 10:30. His show starts at 11. Tickets are sold out. We'll continue our conversation with Hal when we come back on WCPT 820 and 1150 KKNW. Mm-hmm.
Do you keep putting off that much-needed dental work? You know, that back molar that zings whenever you drink something cold, or that old loose crown that migrates up and down like a yo-yo every time you eat? This is Dr. Anna Pellick from Total Dentistry and Palatine, and procrastination keeps me very busy. A simple filling becomes a root canal, or that chipped tooth breaks again and now it becomes a bridge or an implant. Time is the enemy, and dental problems don't get better on their own. So if you procrastinate because of anxiety, we have solutions. If you procrastinate because of cost, we work with insurance plans and have easy payment options. And if you procrastinate because you're too busy, we have early 6 a.m. appointments, late evening, and Saturday appointments, and even one-day treatment. So now that I've eliminated most excuses for not seeing us, stop procrastinating and join the many who tell us, why did I ever wait so long? So give us a call at 847-358-2477 or visit us at totaldentistry.org. Total Dentistry, a general dental practice like no other.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our conversation with Hal Sparks, who will be broadcasting live from Max and Benny's tomorrow as we celebrate our 20th anniversary. I'm so sorry the tickets are sold out, but if you do have a ticket, doors are opening at 10:30, and Hal goes live at 11.
That's right. Very
excited about that. Do you have any guests in person scheduled?
Well, Johnny Million will be joining me live as well. We got a couple of guests who we're very excited about, but I keep them close to the chest, people, because nobody can. We don't have to coax people into the room, right? Because it's already going to be full. So you'll have to listen in. All right. Yeah, there you go.
I believe Mayor Johnson's might be. I don't know if he's coming during your show. No.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
okay.
that's what that was one of them.
I think. I don't know who else is coming.
I think that's it's a very strong possibility.
You mentioned comptrollers across the country. I actually work for Comptroller Susanna Mendoza during the day.
Yes.
That's my day job, and she's fabulous. And I'm hoping that she comes at some point tomorrow. But I know she's got a busy schedule. Yeah, a lot of folks.
Yeah, comptrolling is a very busy thing, or whatever.
I love my job.
You got to be in the back of that big comp boat and
Well, I always struggle with because she prefers to be called controller, right? But when I call people, I have to call a lot of agencies across the state, and if I say controller Susanna Mendoza, like who? Comptroller. I have to say, people always they hear it the way it's spelled.
Yes, sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Controller.
Controller.
Yes, right. It's a very British kind of a word. It's like Gloucester. There's way more letters in there than that. Stop it. Stop. That's Gloucester. I don't care what anybody says.
We have a Triple Hearts me some Hal Sparks. Love me some Hal Sparks. Tune into him and Dick Kay every Saturday. They resonated with me to the point that they were my sanity lifeline. I called Hal while I was standing in line in Las Vegas, a red state, to cast my vote for Joseph Robinette Biden in 2020.
Beautiful. I was so while we're in the break, I was I had this there's so much news, and I'm sure you deal with this all the time. Like it's so
many things.
It's so much all at once. And so, we're used to drinking from the fire hose of news, and just generally. But this is a whole different thing, and it's an intentional thing. They're throwing a lot of garbage out, like the Greenland, Canada, Panama Canal stuff. I'm telling you, it on their own would be worthwhile to chase down, but they're never going to happen. So let it go and laugh it off, because that's what drives them crazy. If you get upset, like, what are they doing to Canada? Like, sorry, Canadian grudge is who's the most sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm more sorry than you are. No, you're not. I'm more sorry. So, anyways, I was, looking through the news, and there are times when stories are zipping by, the tariff stories, and then the Singlegate, and then this, and then, Trump at the prayer breakfast, basically like just being as anti-prayer breakfast as anyone could possibly ever be. My favorite is when they have Bible verses, and he kind of riffs in the middle because he doesn't like reading the language. And they know now to just give him like Jesus wept and call it a day, because if they give him one that's more than a sentence and a half, it's just it's like Sinatra scatting because he's too drunk and forgets the words of Baba Scooby-Doo Wappa thy kindred. But anyway, so every so often I will find myself listening to the radio whenever, and I'll have an epiphany about something. And by the next block, they'll move over to the next story, and and I'm like, I'm engaged in that one, because in a normal on Earth 1, this would be enough to draw your attention. Yes. And so at times I have to pull over and make notes and like turn off the radio or pause if I'm listening to a video online or something like that, which is usually what I do when I'm trying to absorb this nonsense. And it occurred to me, a good example of the bait and switch that we're seeing around things and the distraction of this. So Mike Waltz gets kicked to the curb, right, for this Hegseth thing, even though it's all Hegseth's fault. Let's understand. When bringing Goldberg into the chat, it's embarrassing. He would have heard some backstage talk between people, the principals talking about policy. Nobody would be surprised by what these people think and say, the emojis they use. It'd be like, and they're capable of being, right, dude, bruh, whatever, bombs, just eggplants and water emojis all over the place. They simmer. But anyways, nobody would be surprised by that. But it wasn't until Hegseth posted the attack plans that were imminent, that would happen in 2 hours, and could, if you did basic math, you could figure out, if you were any good at geometry at all, exactly where those planes would be at about what time, and you could shoot them out of the sky and kill our soldiers. And that's why it's top secret. It will always be top secret, no matter what anybody says. And that part drives me nuts, that everybody even goes, allegedly classified. No, nobody thinks any of this. There's no controversy at all. Totally top secret. Ask any military person, any general, they'll tell you. But the Mike Waltz thing, he kicks him to the curb and sends him to the UN. And everybody's like, well, now they've done it. And I would agree to some degree. Trump has screwed up Mike Waltz's life. This is almost like a punishment for Waltz, because he's got to be Senate confirmed to be the U.S. ambassador to the UN. And so
what's that going to go like?
Well, that's going to be all Signalgate. Signalgate's going to come roaring back right at that time. But ultimately, what does it do? It throws all the heat on Mike Waltz. It distracts from the fact that Hegseth was the actual person who committed a crime on multiple fronts, not just that chat, but the one that involved his wife, that he nearly started a war with Iran, or tipped that we have passed some sort of red line that they were not supposed to mention when he posted, like drunk tweeted in the middle of the night, that we know you're doing stuff, therefore there will be consequences, at a time of our choosing. That's something you do after you've had a terrorist strike or an assassination of somebody. That was the words that Iran used after the death of Soleimani. So this isn't a maybe we're going to get you. We'll watch it, buddy. We're giving you one more chance. This was a direct from the SecDef of the United States. That is a declaration that war is coming. And that's been the big concern with these two things. For me, the big two stories are war with Iran and the idea that they're driving towards that, and the bombing of cartels in Mexico, because he's been setting up this whole thing where he can you declare these cartels to be governmental entities, to be terrorist organizations, and therefore the authorized use of military force around the war on terror still being at play. You declare them that. That was what clear and present danger is, because everything in this with this
the Harrison Ford movie.
Yeah,
all right.
That's what it was about.
Yeah.
It was about the president
striking a cartel.
A cartel.
Right. Well, there was a party or something.
Yes, and killed a kid that was there and blew up this whole area. But it was he declared them a clear and present danger to the United States. None of these ideas are original. They literally get most of their stuff
So we're just in
from
Tom Clancy movies, what you're saying?
Yeah. We're all which is, I guess, better than being in Rambo 3, which is where Trump thinks he is.
Right? By the way, I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene is upset about this possible war with Iran and is tweeting out about how she's very disappointed.
Neocons, with no more forever wars. Yeah.
Let me get to at least somebody. Let me get to Bobby in Indiana. Have you ever talked to Bobby in Indiana? Bobby, you're on with me and Hal Sparks.
Hi, Bobby.
Bobby gave up on us.
Bobby,
Bobby
are you
was
there?
so enthralled with the conversation that
happens.
That it does happen.
Yeah, sometimes they walk away for a second, or they're listening indisposed, I would say.
Dave in Hoffman Estates, you're on with me and Hal Sparks. Dave, what's on your mind?
Hey, Patty. Hey, Hal.
Hey.
I got one for Hal and then one for you, Patty.
We each got one.
Hal, and you've been to China a lot, and you you understand the Chinese mind much better than most of us. And I personally believe, that Trump is in the deep end of the pool, because as I said on one of the shows before the other week, when he first started with this tariff crap, and that art of the war by Sun Tzu's been around a whole lot longer than the art of the deal was.
Yeah. Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think one of the other things, too, is that it doesn't even have to be that complicated, because Trump actually thinks that the pomp and circumstance that she gave him while he was president last time was an actual act of friendship and not a huge act of manipulation and the normal way they welcome people, for dignitaries from the biggest economy in the world, no matter who it is. If you're the Secretary of State, or if you're the Commerce Secretary and you went and visited China up until about 2 years ago, or, well, I would say a year before COVID, they would roll out the red carpet for 16 miles for you. It was, they were honeypotting everybody. They were throwing giant banquets and stuff. And Trump thinks he's special when he's over there. He thought they did it for him instead of, no, it's the presidency. Like, even with these, the law firms, like, he does the same thing. He was like, they gave me everything I want. It's like, because you're the president, you could ruin their lives, not because of you.
And I love it. I think you've been pointing out a lot about how when you bend the knee, he wants more. It's never enough.
Yeah.
When you fight back is when he buckles. I learned that when I wish I'd known that. I was in 5th grade when I finally figured it out, because Evie Nesvegas told me we were going to fight after school. And I'd had it, and I threw my books down. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And she goes, I have to go home. And I learned that in 5th grade. Apparently, we all need to learn that. We're in studio with Hal Sparks. Thanks for calling, Dave. We'll be right back after this on WCPT and KKNW.
WCPT replay.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, y'all.
The working people of this city voted for me because they know I'm going to do right by retirees, the most pro-worker city in America. And, of course, we continue to grow our economy by investing in our infrastructure. That's actually how you build safe communities. There's no coincidence that violent crime is down in Chicago as our investments in our infrastructure, our investment in mental health, our investments in education, our investments in youth and workforce development, our investment in our community colleges, all those investments are going up. Violent crime is going down. I'm responding to the structural damage that I inherited. Now all of a sudden people have questions. And now that we're in charge and setting this city on the right trajectory, work with us to actually build the type of economy that's inclusive versus trying to come up with these false narratives that, quite frankly, the people of Chicago, they're seeing right through it.
Keep listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Stop struggling to get your job posting on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored job feature helps you stand out and hire fast. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
AP News, I'm Haya Punjwani. A federal judge has permanently blocked the Trump executive order that targeted the law firm of Perkins Coie. The Trump administration is asking the Supreme Court for access to Social Security information on millions of Americans. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The Trump administration asked the Supreme Court Friday to make way for Elon Musk's Doge to get access to the Social Security information of Americans. The administration filed an emergency appeal after a judge in Maryland blocked the Department of Government Efficiency from Social Security systems, but allowed staffers to access information that was redacted. The government argues that the DOJ team needs access to Social Security systems to target waste in the federal government, and that restrictions disrupt DOJ's urgent work. An appeals court majority refused to lift that block. Donna Warder, Washington.
More Americans see President Trump as overstepping than the federal judges he's been criticizing. AP's Sagar Magani.
We're having some judge problems.
The president's been railing against significant pushback from federal benches over things like deporting suspected criminals.
I don't know what their problem is.
But an AP Nork Center for Public Affairs research poll finds more adults are likely to see him as the problem, not judges. About half say the president has too much power in how the government operates, while they're more likely to believe the federal courts have an appropriate amount of authority. Only about 3 in 10 say federal judges have too much power. Republicans, though, see it the other way. Roughly half say the judiciary has too much power. Only about 2 in 10 say the president does. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A major earthquake with a magnitude of 7.4 struck in the South Atlantic Ocean off Chile and Argentina. That's prompted thousands of people in Chile to evacuate parts of the sparsely populated coast. This is AP News. President Trump has scheduled new trade talks.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he will meet Tuesday at the White House with President Trump. Carney says Canadians elected a new government to stand up to President Trump.
Our old relationship, based on steadily increasing integration, is over.
Canada is one of the many targets of the president's tariffs.
Why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year? Why are we subsidizing Mexico for $300 billion a year? There's no reason for it.
Carney's expectations?
Constructive, difficult, but constructive discussions.
President Trump has spoken repeatedly about making Canada part of the U.S.
Canada should honestly become our 51st state.
What the Canadian people clearly have stated, virtually without exception, is this will never, ever happen.
The president mocked Carney's predecessor, Justin Trudeau, by calling him Governor Trudeau. He hasn't trolled Carney. I'm Ed Donahue.
I'm Haya.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Patchy showers tonight with cloudy skies and a low temperature of 44 degrees and light northeast winds. Saturday showers with a high temperature around 49 degrees and winds out of the northeast at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Sunday showers with a high temperature around 52. On Monday we'll see a chance of showers with a high of 56. And for Tuesday, lots of sun with a high of 60. Wednesday, showers with a high of 58. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 54.
Every day, we go about our lives driven by routine, our vision clouded by the very normalcy we take for granted. Countless victims of human trafficking walk among us, invisible. It's time to open our eyes. The Blue Campaign provides a unified voice for those who combat human trafficking, whether it's forced labor, domestic servitude, or the sex trade. Learn what you can do to help by visiting dhs.gov/Blue Campaign.
Ooh, just what I needed. A mug. This time of year, what do you give? When it's your extra concert game or special event tickets to VetTix, you're giving our nation's brave service members and veterans an amazing experience. Give something to those who gave. VetTix. For more information on how you can make a difference right now, or to become a VetTixer, go to vettix.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey everybody, we are are so thrilled to welcome in studio Hal Sparks in town to celebrate our 20th anniversary here at WCPT.
Hello.
Yeah. Uh-oh, he's singing.
I've just got to let you know. It's nice.
Ooh, it's kind of the chills.
Well,
Very
that was,
exciting.
they try to do it. The important thing is a show. That's what we're doing tomorrow. Chicago, one of the most beautiful things about this place is that as an artist, as somebody who's trying to make it in the arts, I want to remind everybody who's maybe thinking about singing, dancing, acting, whatever that stuff, painting, whatever you do, is that one of the great things, like if you're in New York or in LA, it's always about being discovered. Somebody finds you, sees you, casts you in the right thing, whether it's, you're Danny in Staying Alive trying to make that musical, starring Frank Stallone or whatever.
Sure.
Or if you're in LA and you're like, somebody sees you at Schwab's and you're like, you got moxie, kid. You should be in pictures. There's none of that in Chicago. Chicago is all about just blue collar work ethic that goes with the arts. So you just get started and you just get better. And it's okay. And nobody expects you to be magic right out of the gate. And everybody expects you to find who you are and get better all the time.
And stay or go. That's the other thing, too. A lot of us are workhorses here.
Yes.
And every time I would go to Los Angeles, I never left thinking, I wish I could stay. I just never felt right to me.
Gotcha.
And I just couldn't do it.
I love LA. I genuinely do. I have some of the best friends I've ever had in my life, during the time that I've been there. I mean, like I said, I graduated high school and drove straight there.
Yep.
Because that's where the business was, because it's a steel town, and if you're a steel worker, that's where you go.
Yeah.
Right. But there was always this whole thing about like, oh my God, everybody's so fake. It's so fake. I'm like, have you ever been to an insurance firm in Dallas? Do you have any idea what fake is?
Exactly.
Good Lord. Go watch some true crime and those couples that do like flipping houses and real estate. And he always wears golf shirts and has his glasses up over his visor and khaki shorts. And he's explaining to the cops that she was just here. Like those people are like,
yes,
yeah, they're everywhere, and they're way more fake than any celebrity or actor you would ever run into.
I agree with that. By the way, I have to read some texts for you and take some calls. Please tell Hal I adore him. Queer as folk saved my teenage life, honey.
Aww.
So that's our friend Ken Mejia Beal, who is also a fill-in host and guest co-host here often on WCPT.
That's awesome.
So thank you, Ken. We also have a couple callers on the line.
Excellent.
Roy in Skokie is joining us. Hey, Roy, what's on your mind, my friend? You're on me and Hal.
What's going on, Patty and Hal? I listen to you every Saturday. I'm looking forward to both of you guys tomorrow at Max and Benny's. And I've got some of my great Trumpster shirts for you guys in 5 different colors.
Right on.
Excellent.
In 5 different colors.
Yeah, 5 different. The Trumpster shirts, on the front they say, the main reason for stress is daily contact with idiots. And on the back, it says you just can't fix stupid, and stupid is in extra large letters, okay?
Excellent.
So I'm bringing those tomorrow so you guys can have your pick of whatever you want.
Beautiful.
And I rotate them every day. Nobody's ever said I lie.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in person tomorrow. That's exciting.
Thank you, Roy.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
Thank you so much. It's very kind of you. We'll see you tomorrow, Roy. Let's. Bobby's back. Bobby's calling back.
We got Bobby.
Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
Bobby's back. I wish you would stay away.
We're very concerned. We lost you, Bobby. We were very concerned. We started a phone tree. We were, the neighborhood moms. We were all going, have you seen Bobby? I haven't seen Bobby. Whatever. I'm going to call his tutor.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of people that wish they could listen. But anyway.
That's the spirit.
That's the spirit. But 76, I wanted to tell you, because I haven't talked to you and little Jahani in quite a while, but I want you to pass along to our good friend Uncle Phil in Ukraine that virtually every week I'm talking to my congressman about something, and I always bring up, can you hide some rockets and ammo in the luggage to Ukraine?
Right.
They might have some restrictions on that kind of stuff.
Tell him
metaphorically
that there's somebody in of all God-forsaken places in this country, Indiana,
sure,
that still waves the flag for Ukraine.
That's great. I will
I'm
pass.
not giving up. I'm not giving up.
Me
on
neither.
it.
You know me, Bobby. I'm in this for the long run, and I appreciate that, and I will pass it on. So for those that may not know or whatever, I can't believe you haven't heard the Saturday show. But Philip Bittner started out in, he's in Ukraine. He's a retired CBS reporter and producer, and had worked in the Middle East, had been, in Iraq and Afghanistan, years and years, and then cared about the Ukraine story so much, and he was upset that nobody was covering it. So he went there to start covering it, and nobody followed.
Yep.
And so he was trying to get the word out, and he ended up in my chat room at some point because I was covering it regularly. And then I had him on, and now he's on every weekend with me.
Incredible.
And then I have him on Wednesdays as well on my live stream for an hour because he needs to be able to swear, and so it's helpful to have him just on regular live stream. Because
Healthy.
Yeah, because he's got to get it out, and he's been invaluable for people to get a real a pulse on what's actually happening over there, and I think. We all care, and everybody who listens to your show, I'm sure, is on board with the atrocities that Russia has wreaked on these people for nothing other than just the ego and territorial, old-fashioned resource war of the 1700s that Putin is carrying out with modern-ish weapons. And I say modern, obviously some of the trucks come from 1945. Every time I see them, we found out what Russia's trucks look like. It's like so. Anyways, he's been with us, and if we can't see him or we don't get to talk to him one week, everybody's like, oh, okay, is Phil okay?
Yeah,
because it's a dangerous situation. I have to say that in some ways, the fact that the Trump administration is backing away from being the mediator and that Europe will be the primary mediator in it or whatever is better.
I was going to say at this point,
Witkoff is a moron. Mm-hmm. His ceasefire in Israel was a 6-week endeavor just so Trump could say he got some Americans out. He doesn't care. Trump doesn't care about the Israelis that are still being held hostage. He doesn't care about the idea of a two-state solution.
You mean he doesn't care about anti-Semitism? That's not really what he's.
I think he. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's awkward. But I think he actually would be all in on anti-Semitism directly if it wasn't for Jared and Ivanka.
Yep.
That he would to make friends and business associates with MBS and the Saudis.
Exactly.
He would be completely fine. Now. Yeah.
Thanks for calling, Bobby.
Yeah,
it was good to hear from you. Take care.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you. We've got time for some more phone calls. Let's get to Cheryl on the Northwest side. Hey, Cheryl, you're on with me and Hal Sparks.
No, thank you for taking my call. Hal, I talked to you once before. This is so exciting.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm a Patreon. My 2 daughters, I'm your oldest fan, I think. I'm 78. My daughters are in their 50s. One's a Patreon, one's a subscriber. We are a sparkler family.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, my God.
We've gotten us through the laughing gets us through some challenges. So, I live just a few miles from the station. I got up this morning and I said, something is different in the air. Hal Sparks is in Chicago. And I never miss the Saturday show. And you and Phil and Johnny, and then I love Rob Glenn and all your, Chris Schechter. And I mean, it's like an embarrassment of riches.
Oh, so thank you so much.
I want to thank
I want to thank you. I started, I started the afternoon show as just kind of like this response thing to get people through this stuff. And the morning show is a conversation, and just having these regular guests on wasn't really the goal at that point. Cause I love the sound of my own voice, but what it's become, rumor has it. I read it somewhere. Anyways, it's gotta be true. So it was written in crayon on a wall in a truck stop bathroom.
Wow.
It's clearly
specific.
Everything is specific. That's
You have to.
I've decided, by the way, that my next comedy tour is going to be called "Comedy is Never Clean."
It's true. And how I also feel such a connection to you because I grew up in Cincinnati.
Aw.
Wasn't born there, but lived there for about 10 years. And my husband graduated from New Trier many years before you went there.
Yeah, that's much.
He was in Don Rumsfeld's class, but we don't talk about that anymore.
Well, I was part of the group of alumni that when the school was thinking about putting a bust of Rumsfeld out in front of the school, remember that business? That I and three other people. She's playing with the Geiger counter.
What happened there? Yeah.
That we said we basically told them, look, the day it goes up is the day it comes down.
Oh,
it won't last the night. If you put that thing up,
Saddam Hussein and Lenin, and
just throw a chain around it and drive away with a pickup truck and just drag it behind like some sort of college prank. But in reality, like the idea that they would do that, and I was born in Cincinnati. I did the opposite of you. I was born in Cincinnati, raised in Kentucky. Obviously because I was only born in Cincinnati because it was the nearest hospital without chickens in it, as you know.
Right.
Yeah, and my mom went into labor when she was visiting my grandmother on her birthday, and so I don't know if you know this, Patty. I was born on my mother's 25th birthday on the 25th of September.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I've told all my grandchildren how you have your son give his mom a present because it's her birthday.
That's right.
That's so great.
So
the last thing.
Let me explain that to people because they might not know it. I believe that because I grew up giving my mom a birthday present on her birthday, that I think every child should give their mother a birthday present on their birthday
I like
because
the way
she
this sounds.
did all the work.
I mean,
so you can give your dad like a small gift 9 months earlier if you really feel magnanimous and charitable. Easy, but
his contribution, so to speak.
That's right.
Look, when push comes to shove, we do all the pushing. They did some shoving, but not quite the same thing.
Understood. Yes. Look, it's a team effort.
Simmer. Did she say simmer?
Yes, she said simmer. She's definitely part of the clan. She's with us.
Hal, I listen to 9 shows a week. My only problem is, sometimes you go so late at night when it's later in Chicago. But I'm so compulsive, I don't want to miss anything. And the last thing I'll say is, even though I'm in my late 70s, I don't use Depends yet. However, sometimes, especially your evening shows, you'll say something that just kills me, and I'll have like this sudden deep belly laugh, and I got to admit it's a little bit of a problem, and that's the only time. Like the other day, I still haven't gotten over when you were talking about spooning, and then somebody in the chat said after spooning is forking.
Yes.
I mean, I still haven't gotten over that.
Yes, yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, spooning leads to forking, as we've said many times.
Yes. And the other little connection, my husband spent a lot of his childhood in high school in Pittsburgh, so I know Summer.
Yeah, my girlfriend's family's from Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're Steelers fans. It's true. It's just a
thing.
You
guys, thank you for taking my call, Hal. You are just,
of course.
You've gotten us through some challenges, so
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, thank you, and keep up the good work. Vote Democrat, everybody.
Absolutely.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you.
I'm lucky. I've got Quigley and good senator. I'm lucky. I'm in a good. But yeah. All right, you guys. I know you got people waiting.
Yeah.
Hal,
thank you.
Safe travels.
I will.
And take a vacation once in a while, will you? You're fine. You deserve a vacation. I know you try to make up the time, but you don't have to do that. Listen to Grandma Cheryl here.
All right. All right. Well, my son's birthday is at the end of the month, and we're taking him to Disneyland for 3 days.
Nice.
So that will be my vacation with him for his birthday.
Happy birthday to Cam and safe travels. And thanks so much for chatting.
Thank you, Cheryl. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Good talking to you.
You're welcome.
Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation. When we come back, we've got phone calls and texts. A lot of folks are very excited to hear Hal Sparks in the studio. And yes, his show will be broadcast live from Max and Benny's tomorrow. Show is at 11. He's on from 11 to 1. And me and Jonas Esposito, Richard Chu will all be taking over after that. And Scott Duff is coming with us, too. So we'll all be there. And you can hear the show we'll be there all day. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT, KTNF, and KKNW.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Hypertension or high blood pressure is often referred to as the silent killer. That's because of the significant negative impact it can have on your health, even before you know you have the condition. Case in point, the most recent government statistics show that more than 3/4 of the 120 million Americans who have hypertension do not have it under control. First things first, you should know what your blood pressure is, and you can do this right at home. Sitting, feet flat on the floor, legs uncrossed, put the cuff at heart level with your arms supported on a table. A reading at or above 130/80, that means you have high blood pressure. To lower it, you can do a few things. Eat a healthier diet, get more exercise, quit smoking for sure, and drink less alcohol. Now, even if you do all those things, you might sometimes still need a medication to bring those numbers down. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-source single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Are you annoyingly inattentive? Do you watch a movie and then ask a zillion questions because you weren't paying attention? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. Come soon to Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale. Get a king bed for a queen price and save up to $700. Plus, get a free adjustable base with select Sealy mattresses. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Man, a lot of folks are excited that Hal Sparks is joining us in studio. Of course, you hear him right here on WCPT every single Saturday, plus all the other platforms he's on. What would you say, like YouTube? Patreon's the best place for people to sign up and know where you're always going to be.
Well, and support the show.
Yeah.
That's like I started that, initially. So I don't believe in going on one channel. Like a lot of people will put all their eggs in one basket and be on YouTube or whatever. And I don't trust any of these companies.
Yeah.
Why would I?
No.
Because they can abstractly kick you off. They can wantonly decide whether or not your advertising makes money or not. They can, throttle your views. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go where the viewer is. If you're on Facebook and that's where you watch stuff, I'm going to put my show there. If you're on YouTube, that's what I'm going to do. I'm even on Rumble, which is ridiculous. and I only do it because it's free.
Sure.
Like it's free to post a show on there. The minute they made it like free and you could stream on there, I was like, oh boy, get ready.
And when do people follow you on? Are they watching all of it? Because my son's a friend. They're they're all in college, and one of the kids had this one of the gamer
Twitch.
YouTube channels. It's on YouTube.
Oh yes.
And all of a sudden their page got shut down, and that was how he was paying for college. So I'll have to tell him about
exactly why.
Yeah.
So they were doing a lot of these stations early on, especially these sites were doing kind of like deals where you could only stream on one of these if you made partner and where you were actually making the real money. But then again, if they went down, even if they didn't shut you down, even if their site went down or something, that's not a big deal for them. It's a huge deal for you, especially if you're just starting out. And when I didn't mean to do any of these things, my girlfriend and I'd come back, I'd done the show in China for almost 2 years. and they needed a host for the show that was funny and spoke Chinese, and there was only one of us. So it was one of the easiest auditions I ever had. And so I'm doing the show, and I had built up like a nest egg of money from that show because we had to buy a house because she's got a kid and I've got a kid, and her son decided to stay and go to UNLV, so he wasn't going to move out, and so we needed 4 bedrooms instead of 3, and so we're like, okay, we're going to build one of these houses, one of those like America West Pulte, like like just add plastic houses, like, and there's your house, like out of a giant dispenser.
Nice.
And you pick the fixtures and all that stuff, whatever. But it was a cheap way to do it, and the loans were really low, and it was actually a perfect time to do it. And so I was like, okay, I've got this chunk. Let's just put this towards a house. We'll sell the other one, and that'll be enough for a down payment. Every penny I had, basically. And I'm like, and I'm booked through the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All through 2020, I got shows. I'm not doing the Chinese show anymore, but I got a bunch of shows. And then as soon as basically we wrote the check and signed the paperwork, the whole world shut down. And I had essentially, because I have my kids, he was 11, 12 at that point, and hers, was 18 and just about to go to college and that kind of stuff. Like, it was gnarly. And I was like, she was in event planning at that point.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I was an event, a living event.
Yes.
I am an event.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, we just signed on this. I've got 3 months before we make our first payment because they got to build the damn thing.
Yeah.
So while they're building it, I got to figure something out. And so I woodshedded. I was like, there's all these Twitch streamers making money as gamers, streamers, and I'm like, they must be doing something right. They're making millions of dollars. It's crazy. They must be hilariously funny. And I was like, these guys suck. And so I was like, I can do that, and so I was like, but I don't think any one of them is particularly, like, you can do it fast. So I was like, I'm going to do everything. So I monetized 4 sites in 90 days.
Oh, my God.
Twitch usually takes you 3 years. That's how...
that's crazy.
Yeah, I just grinded because I didn't have a choice. I was looking at the September date, and everybody was like, it's gonna open up in 13 weeks. And I was like, nope. I was in China when it was all bad. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I just had to do it. Like, I got to feed my kid. My girl and I got to keep a roof over our head.
You got to do what it takes.
Our son's we got to do what it takes. So I started doing this thing, and it was meant to be sort of like a glorified hobby. And then once things start up again, we'll see, or whatever. Well, it never really has started up again. Everything's in fits and starts and whatever. Little projects that were already greenlit came back, but for the most part, it's ebbing and flowing, and it's going to ebb a lot under Trump because of. Live performance is going to get swept by get the leg swept in the next couple of years. So to have this as the way I can make a living and actually support my family and do something I care about at the same time has been such a gift.
And you're so great at it. I mean, like, you really, and you bring so much. I mean, I think you bring things because it's intimate. We were talking about how listening is important.
Yes.
It's because it's intimate, right?
Right.
People feel like they're having that conversation, which is why so many people are texting and calling, and they're very excited to hear you.
I don't have fans. I have stalkers. They're just in varying degrees.
I lost one with someone said they just tuned in. Can't believe it's Hal Sparks. I'm a huge fan of his. This is beyond amazing. So very excited.
I agree.
Let's see what Max in North Carolina wants to talk about. Max, what's on your mind? You're on me and Hal Sparks.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, both of you. And like at the beginning of your show, you brought up healthcare, and I was talking to one of my friends. Because I do work for myself, but I do a lot of work for a French company, and I've been doing work for them for at least 25 years. Mm-hmm. And one of the girls there, she actually has some tumors in her head.
Oh.
And but she's fine now. She was telling me, that how she was, so grateful, because
she has coverage, right?
Yeah, about healthcare over here and stuff. And about 2 years ago, we had a friend that that lived in a retirement home. She had like a cabin on the property, and and her son, he had leukemia, and he was he was old. He was already in his 70s, and he was doing some of that when they were doing your DNA, whatever, some new type of testing over here at Wake Forest University, and he was going through that, and he was doing pretty good, but it was costing them a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. Then she ended up having to lose because she ended up getting sick, and then she ended up having to lose her cabin because she couldn't afford it anymore and move into the main facility, which is still an apartment, but like, so she had her own place and, somebody to take care of her. She was 94 years old, so she had a good life. And, but the thing is that, her son had to move her over there and for him to pay for his medical bills. And she ended up dying before she actually left and going over there. Yeah, and then about a month and a half after that, he ended up dying. So that money that he wanted to keep for himself, which was a lot of it, her money, for he could survive, he ended up passing away. But that's the difference between the health. I think it's like close to 40% of Americans that go into bankruptcy because of health care needs.
Yep.
And it's ridiculous. This is the way that we people have to live. We have to, more or less, are we going to take care, like when our parents get older, are we going to help them out? Or are we going to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to help you out. I can only help you out this much or whatever. I could tell you that money, a lot of it was her money, that I could only, but they were in charge of her funds.
Right.
Okay, but that, but he wanted to live. And I can see that.
Course.
Well, you should live there.
That shouldn't be the choice, I think, is the key.
Yeah.
And I think there's a value point to, like, RFK is probably the most dangerous part of this entire administration in reality, because he's just literally the stuff that he oversees impacts more Americans directly than almost anybody else. You could say that, Witkoff and them fumphering around in the Middle East and stuff could lead to something terrible, but every single day RFK Jr. finds a new way to endanger lives and stuff, not the least of which is, like, if you want to know what measles can do to 1 out of 20 people that get it, there's a show called The Pit that's on Max right now. If you haven't had a chance to know Wiley. Yeah. And they have almost like a House-like episode where they're trying to figure out what's wrong with this kid, and they realize measles past the point, but he's getting all the secondary symptoms. His little sister got it and passed it, but the son is in really bad shape. And the parents they call him Dr. Google because they're a lot of these they'd be RFK Jr. voters, and they want to. They're not letting the doctors do what they need to do to save the kid's life because they believed all this garbage online. The rough part about it, like one of the things he brought up the other day, and I don't know if you saw this, but he brought up this thing about how, like, ever since I was a kid, because he's the great Gonzo. Ever since I was a kid, the great Gonzo, that when I was a kid we didn't have all this. By the way, he's got vocal paralysis. Largely due to lifestyle stuff. So
he's a heroin addict.
Yes, massive. And I mean that's what fourth stage syphilis. That's what you sound like. But anyways, I've always said that he looks like if one of the guys from Puppetry of the Penis went, look, if you squint, it looks like Bobby. But he
having been the opening act for Puppetry of the Penis for many months.
You know exactly what I'm talking
exactly
about.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So he was talking about how chronic disease. We spend more in this country on chronic disease, and we never used to pay. We never had to spend that money on chronic disease. That's because people just died. Yeah. We didn't have treatments for any of this stuff, dummy. And of course, chronic disease is going to cost you more because. That's what keeps you alive. It's chronic. It goes on forever. Yeah. Stitches. They're like, this dude has stitches every week. What the hell? Like,
it's not the same.
Really, unless you've got evil Knievel's like osteopath, nothing is going to be a recurring bill like somebody with back pain or a spinal issue or knees or diabetes or mental illness or ALS or MS.
If you're going to decide that people are disposable and they're not
right, that's what he's talking about.
Exactly.
When they're complaining about chronic illness, they're saying, why are we bothering with these people? It's gross.
Hal Sparks is in studio with us. Let's continue our conversation. Thank you so much for calling, Max. We'll be right back after this on WCPT 820, KKW 950, and 1150 WCPT. All the numbers.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Patchy showers tonight with cloudy skies and a low temperature of 44 degrees and light northeast winds. Saturday showers with a high temperature around 49 degrees and winds out of the northeast at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Sunday showers with a high temperature around 52. On Monday we'll see a chance of showers with a high of 56. And for Tuesday, lots of sun with a high of 60. Wednesday, showers with a high of 58. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 52.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
At this very moment, Doctors Without Borders is on the ground in communities around the world, delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most. Our teams are bandaging war-wounded patients caught in the crossfire in Sudan, providing clean drinking water in Haiti, and performing emergency C-sections in Yemen. Doctors Without Borders teams are in over 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving work is made possible by our movement of supporters, people like you who help our patients even when they're half a world away. At Doctors Without Borders, we won't stop working to bring our patients and their communities from crisis to care.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home on KKNW 1150 in Seattle, Washington, KTNF AM 950 in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and we're broadcasting here in WCPT 820 in Chicago. And joining us in the studio is the one and only Hal Sparks, who's joining us for our 20th anniversary. We're broadcasting live from Max and Benny's tomorrow morning. The show, Hal Sparks will be broadcasting starting at 11, and surprise guests throughout the show. And we're thrilled that you're here today, Hal. Thank you for joining us.
No, I'm thrilled to be here myself. I'm always happy to see myself here.
You're always happy to see yourself here.
Yeah, then I know where I am. It's good.
It's good. It's a good place to be. Max and Benny's has great food too, by the way. So I'm excited to have. I'm trying to decide. They have a great bakery. Oh. They have all their food is very good.
Okay.
Let me play this real quick. But we're going to talk to our friend Aubrey in Alaska in just a moment. But I also want to play this before I forget because we wanted to also reminisce about some of the great moments.
Our happy ending this week is the number of callers, and I appreciate everybody calling in. Even the ones we politically disagree with. That's the great thing is that we actually managed to have a conversation.
That guy said he listens all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. We can disagree as gentlemanly. I think that's the essence in many ways of. That's what we appreciate about this country is we have a peaceful transfer of power that we take for granted every 4 years. Mm-hmm. We may not always like it. We may have an issue with the Supreme Court giving it away occasionally. But it's a big difference in people, that basically change governments through a coup and a hanging every 10 years. So count your blessings on one end. Yeah, we have a lot of wrangling and.
It's kind of like why I watch The Bachelor sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God, this drives me crazy. I'm sure that's why that guy listens.
Exactly right.
So is that from the? I think it's 2016.
Yeah, that's from. That was from. I want to say it was earlier than that. I want to say it was when we were talking. Yeah, it was like we were midterm-ish. I want to say during Obama's first thing. We're still talking about like the Bush transition and just barely getting out from under the 2008. Wow. And that was the other thing too. Is that like. Democrats always come in and sweep up after a Republican mess.
Yes,
and that's not going to be any different this time. It may be a bigger mess, but you might be able to have some structural changes that do end some of the long running issues if we can get enough Democrats elected. And that's why I'm saying vote blue no matter who. And anybody, I love David Hogg as a person. He's a sweet human being, but
yeah,
if you can't turn a red district purple or a purple district blue, you're not doing anything worthwhile. Blue doesn't get bluer and help us at all. The vote won't change materially at all. A guy who votes with us every time but just doesn't talk the talk or use the right jargon every time around, maybe that's how he got in there. Maybe that's how we kept that seat. Maybe without that kind of attitude, we would lose it to somebody who's, incidental to helping us, an independent who only votes with us 80% of the time, or a right-winger who steps in and through faux populism like Trump did, sweeps a bunch of districts that should be Democratic for most reasons. So if the only goal of anybody who works in the DNC or even around it should be turn red districts purple, purple districts blue. That's your only job. Mm-hmm. If it's already blue, leave it alone.
Yeah, that's the thing is we talked to Kaylee. We talked to Kaylee Peterson out of Idaho. We talked to, I don't know if you've ever talked to Jess Piper out of Missouri. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic, the Dirt Road Dem.
Right.
We talked to Afton Bain, who is out of Tennessee. We talked to as many people as we can, and and I agree completely. We need to be running because for a long time in Iowa, Missouri, all these places, the Republicans go unopposed.
They're the only game in town. Right.
Yeah, and here's the thing: you'll have people in Iowa, screaming about minimum wage. We don't, we have enough. We can't afford. You're like your state legislature doesn't want to raise your minimum wage.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I wish they would do it federally, but we're doing $15 an hour in Illinois.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Arizona; it's almost 21. Look at Vermont, same kind of deal. Like they'll complain about Kristen Sinema, or they'll complain about even John McCain, or they'll complain about Bernie Sanders. But ultimately, those states have it even rings a little hollow. When they're talking about minimum wage, federal minimum wage, either being for or against the raising of it, when their states are so far ahead, they're a decade ahead of it being raised anyway. So that's got to be part of the conversation. We have to be unafraid to go into those areas. And what happened?
Exactly.
The problem was we ran into the jargon police on our side. For the last couple of years, one of the ways they hamstring you is that if you don't use the shibboleth, if you don't use the code words, you're not no true Scotsman. You're not a real liberal, real progressive, or whatever.
We have to test.
Yes. And even the concept of microaggressions and those kind of things it doesn't paralyze the right. They don't care.
No.
It paralyzed us. It paralyzed our side because we were afraid of making a mistake. We were afraid of saying the wrong thing. Republicans are never afraid of saying the wrong thing because they think the wrong thing. So, of course, they're going to say the wrong thing, right? The best they can do is say the right thing while thinking the wrong thing, which is how Trump gets through. People voted for him as if he was going to be a peacenik. There were people who said they believed he would be better for Gaza than Biden or Harris.
Which is insane.
Yes.
Absolute.
So I would argue, and I've said this on my show, I don't buy it. I don't buy anybody being that dumb. If you're an activist or even a slacktivist.
I buy people being that dumb. But okay.
At one point.
Okay.
There's dumb and there's stupid. Dumb is ignorant. You don't have access to the information. Stupid is you know better, but you do it anyways.
It's willful ignorance, yeah.
This, I would argue, is they secretly are just tired of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. They don't really care about either side. And they were just like, well, one side's going to win, so blah. In the same way that the right wing, Marjorie Taylor Greene, talks about Russia and Ukraine. They can't win anyway, so I don't even know why we're helping them. Like, that's how, there's that point where we got a generation of people or a couple of generation of people that swipe right or swipe left on things, and that's the extent of their caring.
Yes.
Their ethical thoughts on things are a mile wide and an inch deep. And at one point they just get fed up and they're like, I don't even care about this anymore. But they have to act like they do. So they put on a big show, but in reality, they know Trump will be terrible, and maybe that'll just get it over with. This is kind of like pull off the Band-Aid thing. And I'm just refusing to believe that in this many cycles they're being that dumb. I can't buy it. It's got to be subterfuge and a choice at this point.
Well, the number of people who, like, when I put up, when we were talking a lot about the last 2 weeks in due process, I said, if we deny due process for one, then it's democracy for none. And people will post on my line, yeah, I'm fine with no democracy. Because then they have this whole idea that, well,
we're not a democracy, we're a republic. We're a constitutional republic.
Yeah, but we choose our leaders through democracy, stupid.
It's a form of democracy.
Yes, these are not contradictory at all. We're not a monarchical republic, right, where lords own land and there's a fiefdom set up. And I mean,
well, Curtis Yarvin says we have to get used to dictatorships, which is who J.D. Vance wants to listen to, and Peter, all these guys, like the technocrats and all that crap. That's the part.
Have you seen my technocracy of America map that I put online?
Do I want to?
Maybe not. So if you look up, if anybody at home wants to look up technocracy of America, there was a group of people, largely stationed in Canada, that were engineers and computer experts who believed that humans are incapable of running our own lives, and therefore we need computers and engineers to decide rationing out stuff, and basically this kind of techno-communism that they were going to do, and everybody would have to work and do these kind of things, but they'd be assigned and forced to do these things, and you would be paid in energy certificates that you would get a certain amount of light during the day that you could use at night and those kind of things, and that would be it. And you would only get paid in that kind of stuff, rationed a certain amount of food, blah, blah. Okay. That map, if you look at it, includes the United States, of course, Canada, Greenland, and Central America, all the way down to the Panama Canal. Now, why in the world would Donald Trump suddenly be talking about Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal? Because you know who was one of the people who was in this group? Elon Musk's maternal grandfather was one of the leaders of it. He was
in the 30s.
Yes,
right?
and he was driven out of the country for being a fascist sympathizer. And
were they the gray suits? They were the
They were Hitlerites, and they were like we're to the National Socialist Party, that storyline that everybody goes there. Obviously, the Nazis aren't genuinely socialist. They use that as a populist way of selling stuff. Well, why did that work? Because there was a National Socialist movement that they were glomming onto, largely in Canada and other parts of Europe, and they were using that to ballast themselves up with sympathetic ears everywhere. Well, those people weren't just sympathetic to the concept of socialism around that. They were sympathetic to the authoritarian fascistic socialism to control, because there are too many useless eaters, that they were all at heart Kissingers.
That's the thing.
Right.
And that's why I got in a fight with, a disagreement with a friend of mine who, we both have adult sons with severe disabilities, including autism. And you know what the first thing was that RFK Jr. said, our sons will never do.
They'll never be able to
pay taxes.
Right.
And everyone's like, that bothers you? I'm like, he said it first.
Yes.
For a reason.
Yeah, that was the first thing on his mind. Right.
Yes. Okay, let's take a break here. Thank you, Hal.
Useless eaters. That's what they think of them. That's what they think.
More in a saying. That's what I was talking about, Bridget. I'm sorry, I love you. More after this on WCPT, KKNW, and KTNF.
In Illinois, animals are being tortured illegally for fun. Horses are whipped and punched in the face. Terrified steers are beaten and shocked with electricity.
Animals with broken legs and backs receive no medical care.
Why won't political leaders stop this criminal abuse? Please visit www.steertailing.com to help Showing Animals Respect and Kindness abolish these criminal acts. And please tune in on Saturdays at 5 p.m. for Chicago Alliance for Animals If Cage Walls Could Talk.
From the personal experiences that shaped you to the accomplishments that shaped the world, every moment of a veteran's service is meaningful. At the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, we ensure those moments are never forgotten. For 25 years, the collection has made the experiences of U.S. military veterans accessible to all. Veterans, now is the time to share your story and make our history more complete. To submit your stories, photographs, and documents, visit loc.gov/vets today.
We got out of Washington State, and I think a week after, state went on lockdown for COVID.
So then when we transitioned to Texas, it was very much so like, what are we going to do now?
Operation Homefront has allowed our family to make something of ourselves again in the world after the military.
It's completely changed the way our life is. It took us from a hopeless situation, and now we're homeowners. We have a savings account. I'm the first one to own a home out of my siblings.
Visit OperationHomefront.org to learn more.
Not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, Our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our conversation. Someday, my off-air conversations with my guests will also be broadcast, but that wasn't being recorded, Hal. But
no.
I almost wish it was, because that was fascinating. We were talking a little bit about RFK Jr., and a friend of mine was saying that, well, what if he does find an answer as to why autism occurs? But he's starting from an idea of what it is. He's saying it's environmental. He's saying it's vaccines, and he's only working to prove that.
Right, and the problem is that when they find out that it ain't that, it'll largely get buried. So anything that they could help with, anything they do realize they could fix, they're probably gonna downplay, because he's already carved out, a financial nest for himself on this concept of vaccines causing these kind of things. And this goes to all of the stuff that he's doing, this kind of preconceived notion, which is the antithesis of science. You can have a hypothesis that you deeply believe in and chase it down, but you don't say this is it and start declaring enemies before you can prove it, and you can, in the scientific method, prove it again and again, because that's what makes it valuable, because you can reproduce it. Otherwise, it's useless, even if it was scientifically possible. That's like saying lightning started this fire, and therefore, anytime we want fire, we'll just wait for lightning. Right? It's a terrible methodology. Imagine where humanity would be if we were all lightning chasers, right? We'd all be running around with giant boils on our heads from the strikes that we managed to catch. So his thing overall is this, the food additives. So look at that. They're gonna get rid of red dye number 40 and all these kind of things. That's been a Democratic thing for decades. Who was running interference against that? Republicans the entire time. Okay,
because corporations wanted to be able to keep doing it because it was easy, cheap, and artificial. And
it's brighter, and it draws your eyeball and all that kind of stuff. From a marketing standpoint, it all works. The idea that the Republicans, we should take this as a win. You want to talk about a win and maybe they found answers? We should take this as a win. We won. We on the Democratic side won this.
Red dye?
All the food additives that they're going after. Do you know how they're going to get rid of these? Do you know how they're magically going to get rid of these? Regulations. Remember how regulations destroy business, and we got to get rid of regulations and whatever. That's exactly how they're going to do it. And by the way, I would like to say that an unelected, appointed member of the cabinet has determined that he's going to create regulations that do not go through an act of Congress to shape the dietary habits of Americans. Now, I happen to like the outcome, and that's what I like when Joe Biden runs things or Obama runs things, because they use regulations to keep us healthier, because if you'd wait for companies to figure this stuff out, we'll all be walking around 80% tumor and 20% person, right? But the fact that they came around to this, the fact that they are now like, we're going to make America healthy again and do all this stuff, that part of it, the food additives and getting those things out, that's a win for Democrats. We pushed and they bent. They finally came over to this side of it. Whether they came about because they were QAnons and they believe that they're trying to put chips in you, using yellow dye number 5. It doesn't matter why. They can hide behind whatever they want. But we won. We won the food additive thing, and it collapsed their resistance to it. And every one of them, John Kennedy, all the old Republicans, Mitch McConnell, all those guys are grinding their teeth because they fought this stuff for years, and now because the right person whispered in Trump's ear, and he's just likes the idea that a Kennedy likes him. Right. He just likes the idea that a Kennedy can stand him, and so that's enough. God, right?
So crazy.
It's so gross. I mean, they're the same dude. They really are. I mean, the personal life aspect of both of these guys, it's like I don't know why they're not touring with Russell Brand at this point. They're just such
Who's
creeps.
out on bail, by the way, so that's always good.
Right. Well, England, as it were, gentleman's agreement being what it is. Tucker Carlson apparently is asking Trump to save him by giving Russell Brand asylum in the United States.
He and what's that guy Tate? What's the guy?
Andrew Tate. Yeah.
Down in
Who,
Florida.
by the way, and
God.
DeSantis is going after Andrew Tate, right? So they filed charges against him. It's not going to work that way. And maybe Tucker doesn't know. I mean, he's stupid and weird, but there are 4 sexual assault charges against Russell Brand in California. He's facing those next. If he ever comes back in the country, that's every state in the country would send him to California to face those charges. So he's not ducking anything. He's got the exact same number of charges in the states that he has in England. And those are the ones that have come forward.
Oh, my God. Yeah, there's always more. It's the people who are willing to come forward.
Well, that's, for all the good guys out there like myself, the idea that people get that men are terrible often comes from a very select few with a big body count. It's just always been true. That's how it works out. So, and my way of saying is that we should put those people away and keep them there.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Let's get at least one more phone call in.
Sure.
Paul in Seattle, we've got a little bit of time here. You're on with me and Hal Sparks. I know you've been on hold for a while. What's on your mind?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, how's it going? So much has gone by. I'll just jump the train while I am here. Regulations, the falsity that regulations kill creative innovation, nothing could be more false. Regulations actually spur innovation.
Right.
If you don't have regulations, then the research and development department in any company you want to choose will just take the cheapest, crappiest, dirtiest way to solve whatever problem.
Right, and create more problems as you go along. So they dig a hole for every step that they skip.
Yeah, so a friend of mine, 40 years, I've been friends with a guy from college, a chemistry professor of mine. He's an R&D chemist at a small chemical company in North Carolina. And he says,
a lot of those.
He tells me, he says, look, regulations, environmental regulations are not my problem. When I'm developing a product for, say, Revlon, they got a list of things that this product must do this as long as my right leg, and a list that it can't do as long as my left leg. A few environmental regulations are not the problem. And that's how he actually comes up with the patents for things, for chemicals that can be used in many things.
Absolutely.
But the thing he develops for Revlon is also being used in striping and lines for highways and bottling for
all of these things like dyes, plastics, all those kind of things. These quote forever chemicals that we deal with. We're all paying the price for those things being in our systems. Years ago, when innocently in a lot of cases they just didn't know. And the regulations came around, so now you know. The regulation lets you know, and it establishes a standard where try something else that doesn't kill people. We know this is bad. Go find something else, and it gives. It helps direct the money that might come from R&D to your friend in a direction that might make him even able to discover something that is long-lasting and non-toxic, ultimately, that makes his invention last longer. If he's got a choice road, he's got a fork in the road, I can choose the quick and dirty, or I can choose the lasting one that might be a less resilient over time, and it's going to take me longer to work out the kinks. Doing the right path will ultimately be better for his namesake as a scientist and for the invention that he creates. It'll create more value for his family long term, and it certainly won't be like that's your name is mud. I don't know if you know this, but the Griswold family in the National Lampoon movies, you know why they're stupid? Do you know why they're stupid? There's a subplot of why they're stupid. They're stupid because Clark Griswold works in food additives. If you watch Christmas Vacation, he's waiting for his bonus because what did he do? He created a non-nutritive food varnish.
Come on.
They're stupid because their brains are fried from all the crap he brings home to try on the family.
My God. I did not know that was a subplot of that.
Yeah.
Hal Sparks
explains everything.
Unraveling the mystery of the Griswolds. See? This is why we're celebrating 20 years, because people like Hal Sparks keeping us going with this great information, but also great shows. Hal, I'm so excited to be joining you tomorrow for our celebration at Max and Benny's.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming in the studio.
Thank you for having me on.
Again.
I will absolutely.
Please come do this again. Just I don't know when
I'll be back for
Hody
Hody Bash in the summer. We'll do it together.
All right, please do. All right, then. Thank you, Lady B. Have a great weekend. Thank you to our sponsors, Source Solar, Kids Above All, and Monaco Brewing Company. Have a great weekend. weekend, everybody. Sorry, no whiskey and cookie tonight. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
WCPT 20th Anniversary Replay 2023.
Welcome to the WCPT AM 820.